sandwiches, ice cream, coffee and snacks, and many other pleasing treats. Our foods are fresh and tasty, our drinks satisfying and refreshing. They're so good.
Welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In.
And now, on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Average Joe's Drive-In. I am your host, TJ Washburn, and with me on this episode, which is episode 39, I think, or 38, I'm losing track, is Cara Flannery of Fluky Fiction. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Just kind of getting over a little bit of a touch of the flu. But,
yeah.
So
that's been crazy in my house.
It's that time of year, unfortunately, and the wacky weather and everything else is not helping with those matters. So,
yeah, I'm getting over it too, as you can tell from my beautiful voice right now.
yeah. I almost was like, maybe we ought to reschedule this for a different day, but I was like, no, I'll tough it out because I've just. Yeah, it's been not good for the last couple of days. So yeah. I just had my flu shot Friday, and I think I'm having some adverse reactions to it. So.
Oh, no. And I had heard that the flu shot this year, they guessed the wrong strain of the flu or something. So,
it's just,
oh, no.
I know it's supposedly a stronger strain than in past years.
Yeah.
As far as the antivirus part of it goes. So, yeah. I don't know. So yeah, there's been that. So why don't you give everybody a little bit of your background and what you do and what Fluky Fiction is all about?
Okay, and it's kind of a funny story, but so my background, I went to the University of Maine at Farmington for English language arts primarily, so literature, language structure, things like that. And I'm in education for my day job, so that's what I do to actually make money. But, But, I've always liked the arts, so reading, film, writing, music, yada yada. At the risk of sounding like a hipster, which I really don't want to do that, but I have a hard time getting into a lot of the things that are kind of mainstream. I'll get all excited when I hear about something. And then when I check it out, I think it's kind of lame, to be honest. And my husband's the same way. So, we had a hard time finding newer books that we liked, in particular, because we're both avid readers, and it's just something we kind of like to talk about together, too. So, we weren't having luck finding books that were recommended to us, because we just weren't into them. So we decided to kind of look at more of the independent or indie authors to see if there's anything in there. And then we kind of discovered that there's a little bit of a difference between indie and self-pub. And there's a lot of great self-pub ideas out there, but looking into it, a lot of them just didn't have the quality of editing needed. And it's not their fault because, the big authors have so much money from their publishers to actually get editors and things like that, the first manuscript probably is full of errors. But for me, being the snob that I am, it's hard for me to get past the first five pages of some of those. And it was a shame because I'm sure there are some great ideas. So anyway, that kind of fell through for us, trying to look for things that were a little different, that were in the self-pub world online anyway. And then we got to talking about it with a friend of ours, and we were talking about how, romance in particular, because we all hate romance. It's like my least favorite. I can't do it. It hurts. It hurts me to read or watch romance stuff. But it's like the top-selling genre. And I'm sure you write, so you've probably seen like the numbers for romance books.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane, the amount of sales they make.
But it also seems like romance authors, and not knocking the genre at all, but the amount of books that they pump out compared to most other genres is insane. Like, there's a few romance authors that I'm friends with and that I've known for a long time and whatever, and most of the authors I know, I mean, even the really good, prolific ones, put out 1 or 2 books a year, maybe.
Yeah.
And most of the romance authors I know put out like 5 or 6 a year.
Oh.
It seems
Yeah.
like every other month they have a new book out.
Yeah, and that actually feeds in well to this next part of the story, because we're talking with a friend of ours about that. And the friend actually brought that up, how, it's just the fact that they're pumping out so much and people eat that up for some reason. And the friend brought up how, they felt like they could write a romance book if they really put their mind to it. And I kind of, egged them on a little bit, like, yeah, okay, let's see you write it then. I mean, if it's that easy. They told me, okay, just give me a premise and I'll write a book. And the premise I gave, I just thought, the first thing that came to mind was, okay, write a love story about a dude with 2 penises. Do that for me. And if you do that, I will edit it for you and I'll publish it. So time went on, and a few months, so you talked about time, it was just a matter of months, I get an email, and it's a finished manuscript. Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
Yes. And I'm a lot of things, but I am a lady of my word. So I read the thing, I edit it, and you know what? It was pretty good. Like, I liked it, and I hate romance. And it was written in a way where it was a legitimate love story. So somebody who likes, I don't know, Nicholas Sparks or whoever's popular right now, I can't keep up. But anybody who likes typical romance would probably like it. But anybody who's just really cynical and hates the romance genre like I do would see the satire in it, because it's really tongue-in-cheek. It's kind of like a genre piece where it's making fun of it, but at the same time, unless you were of that mindset, you probably wouldn't see that.
It's the Shaun of the Dead of zombie movies.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah.
So I liked it, and my husband liked it too. So I edited it. It needed a little bit of work because the person didn't go to college or anything like that for writing, which is fine because some of the best authors I've read actually didn't go to school for anything like that. So I helped out with that. We published it, and I kind of fell in love with the process. I mean, I love editing. I'm kind of a nerd for that, for language structure, developmental editing, which like story and things like that too.
Yeah.
But I researched it, did some digging, and I just learned how to do all of it on my own, and I kind of fell in love with it. And we kind of did it as a joke at first. Just to kind of get a book out there about a guy with 2 penises that's a love story. We thought that was hilarious. And we just really liked the work. And we decided, maybe we should try to be a little more serious about this. If we can get a book from somebody just as a joke that's really good, maybe we can find some more things that are a little different and help some people out with the process of editing and interior design and all those things that are kind of a pain in the ass.
Oh, very
but I'm a nerd.
Very, very much so.
But I love it. I love it. I'll spend 12 hours at the computer just messing around with it, just to see what,
Those are my least favorite thing. I'm a storyteller. I like to write stories. I don't like editing. I loathe editing, matter of fact. And I like putting together artwork and doing that sort of stuff, and but I'm not setting things, as far as like setting everything up, and just the editing part is just not my strong suit, and I don't enjoy it. So those two things are my worst part. I would rather write my story, do my rough edit, and then, then
ship it off to someone like me who's just waiting at the computer.
Yeah. Usually I have my beta readers, and I'll send it off to them, and they're usually decent about pointing stuff out or telling me what they do and don't like, so I can make some changes, but that has been a process for me, just getting to that point, because it's like I'm very impatient, for one. I will be the first to admit it. When I'm done with the story, I want it out. I'm done with the story. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I just want to get it out. That was one of our problems too in the beginning. We just got too excited about it too and wanted to get it out.
But
I think it's a combination of excitement and just the fact that I loathe the editing part of it. You know,
it's on to the next story.
It's on to the next thing. I've got so many ideas. I just want to work on stuff, and it becomes it becomes one of those things. But as I've written more, because I've put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, 3 novels, a non-fiction book, and 2 short story collections. So I have gotten.
Oh wow! Yeah.
I've gotten better about it as I've gotten further along, and I actually went back and re-edited and kind of revised my first couple books that I put out.
Oh, that's always nice.
Because there was a lot of errors and stuff in there because I just got excited and kind of jumped the gun and.
Yeah, we went back into The Heart of the Hydra, that book I was talking about, our first one we published, just to make sure, the story was still solid, and edit it a little more, give it a facelift, I guess.
Yeah.
But
that's definitely one of the benefits of self-publishing, is you do have the opportunity, or going through a smaller press, that you sometimes do have that opportunity to go back and revise things.
Yeah, because we always, with Fluky Fiction, we wait to put it into that larger printer, which is, oh my god, it's such a pain to go back in if you want to. So we give it a while to sit at a smaller printer first and try to circulate it around. Then we'll go back in, and once we think it's as near perfect as we can get it, we push it on to the next step.
My process that I've learned, like I said, as I've been writing books for like 4 or 5 years now. I've been putting stuff out. And my general rule for novel-length stuff is, and this is something that I learned from reading the Stephen King novel on writing, was I don't generally even do an first edit on anything for anywhere between 3 and 6 months after I finish it now.
Yeah, you gotta take a step back.
And I find that works wonders because you kind of get it out of your head a little bit. You still know the gist of everything, because you wrote it. So you do, you know the basics, but you do forget stuff. And it also gives you a chance to look at it with through a clearer lens. So you do pick up on things that is like, wow, that doesn't really work, or that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Or, I don't like this character's name anymore, and I'm going to change this type thing. And so it makes a big difference. So that's one of the great benefits I took it from that book.
Yeah, one of the things I like most too about working with authors is like that passing back and forth, because you take some time with it. Say an author will send it to me, I take some time with it, I send it back, so I've had some time away from it while they're working on it before I see it again.
Yeah.
Which is cool because you get too attached to something.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like if you're around someone all the time, they leave for a little bit, they come back, you're like, oh, I never noticed that about you.
Yes, that annoying way you scratch your butt every time you walk across the room. I guess I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've gotten so used to it, it just didn't.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a thing, and I think a lot of newer authors, I think we all make that mistake of rushing things out when you first are putting stuff out. I would say probably 90% of writers make that mistake starting out.
Yeah, and I mean, even us little publishers too, because we get excited if we want to get it out. And I try to be really transparent with people that, I can't promise you I'm going to make you a lot of money. Like, it's not going to happen right away. Hopefully it will. Hopefully, but I'm in this, and my husband's in it just because we love art. We're kind of artsy-fartsy in that way, and we just want to help authors out, because I do have the training, and I love the interior design aspect, so I might as well help people out.
Yeah. I think most authors, publishers, musicians, anybody that's involved with art stuff, you do it, one, because you enjoy doing it. You do it, two, I think there's always that I like to call it, there's always that pipe dream that something's going to take off, and, something's really going to take off, and, you're going to be able to do that for a living. But the realistic aspects of that are probably 1,000,000 to 1 that you're going to really ever hit it big and be able to actually make a living off it.
Yeah, but I mean, all it takes really is that one story. Look at 50 Shades of Grey, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And even Da Vinci Code, too. Like, publishers were horrified that took off so well because, the type of writing and things like that in it. But
well, I mean, you could even go back to Stephen King and how many times how many times Carrie was rejected before somebody.
Yeah, and his teachers told him that he couldn't write either.
Oh, yeah.
His creative writing teachers. So,
it's all about just anything with art is a joyful war of attrition. It's
yes.
So it's a combination of just loving to do it and then just keeping at it and hoping, eventually maybe you'll get a break somewhere along the lines and it'll take off. I think I'm a little cynical too because I spent so many years in bands and playing music and getting close several times to having things happen and then just having stuff not work out, and I think I'm a little cynical because of stuff like that it's been like I've been there. I've had a recording contract in my hand and then the record label folded.
Oh, yeah.
Type thing, and just getting offers to go out on tour and not being able to do it for various timing and just things like that. It's kind of one of those right place, right time things. It really is.
Yeah.
It's more than I think a lot of people realize. I don't think there's a magic formula for anything when it comes to creative works. I don't think there's any one way that it becomes successful. I think
no, it seems like it's either who you know or you get lucky type thing.
Yeah. Oh, exactly, very much so. So how many authors are you currently working with?
Authors total or novelists?
Well,
because we have.
I know you've been doing some short story stuff. I'm talking more like novelists that are putting out stuff. Oh,
novelists. Okay, so for novelists we have. Our first one for the romance I was talking about, well, the satire, really. A. Mangina, so that's one. Howard Hashey is the one who came to me next. And then I got Mark Watson, who was on your show not too long ago, Canadian author. And another novelist who's working with us right now, but isn't really near completion yet, is C.J. Mirren. And they're working on a science fiction type thing. So right now it's 4 novelists plus about, I think, 20 short story authors.
Oh wow! So how many?
Yeah.
So how many pieces of work have you put out so far? Total? I mean, just it was like story collections or novels.
Right now we have 4 publications that anybody could buy. The next one coming out will be February 13th. It's actually another romance piece, but this one's a collection of kind of bizarre romance stories. So it'll be 5 after February.
Oh, nice. There you go. So getting kind of building up the library and building up your stable of authors and.
Yeah, because that was the first step, is just kind of getting a few clients, getting some publications out there, because we've only been doing it a year.
Oh wow, that's really good for a year.
Yeah, so we wanted to get some and then take a little bit of a break. We do have Howard Hashey working on the second book to Ionic Relapse right now. He has it sent to me. I just have to get this romance anthology done first. So
now it's so like you were saying, you're kind of looking for that like off kilter, not quite your standard genre pieces or in general. You're not really focusing on any particular genres, or are you just looking for stuff that's original and kind of different?
Yeah, no particular genres, just things that are kind of different in some way. It could be the conventional aspect of it, like the way it's written, or it could be the story itself. Because, I mean, as much as I hate romance, that was the first thing we published. And we're doing this anthology now because we did find some that were a little different that we liked a lot.
So is it more you contacting authors right now, or is it more the other kind of a little bit of both, other way around? Or, you know, are you skimming the vast sea of self-pub and, you know, coming across stuff and going, well, that's cool, I'd like to work with this person? Or is it more of them submitting things to you, or?
It's mostly been people submitting things to me, to be honest. There's a couple that, at first, with the first anthology we did, which was a horror, science fiction kind of oddity collection called When Glints Collide, a couple of those authors I found on my own and talked to a little bit. But, I mean, after that, people started submitting, and we had to turn down a lot of work, to be honest. And some of them we had to turn down because it wasn't quite our thing. It wasn't that they were bad. But some of them we had to turn down just because we had so much shit to go through. I mean, I couldn't put out a 500-page anthology.
Well, you could. It just might not.
Well,
you know, that's a lot. That's a lot to tackle and take on. And when you start looking at the aspects of the editing part and just.
Yeah, it's just cool.
That might be a little...
Working 40 hours a week plus that would be way too much.
That might be a little daunting for some readers to tackle an anthology, especially of authors that they're not familiar with, of that length as well, so...
Yeah, and I mean, I now see why so many authors in the 80s and even beyond did so much cocaine, because you have to stay up, you have to get all this work done.
Stephen King, prime example.
Yes, exactly.
There was a reason
he
wrote.
It.
You know, there was a reason he wrote 40 books a year for. You know.
Yeah, he was strung out. And it's funny. People hate Tommyknockers usually when I talk to them. I love that book. I loved it when I was a kid, and I read it anyway.
It's been a long, long time since I've read that one. I remember it just being very long and taking me a long time to get through. And I used to speed read, like, I read the unabridged version of The Stand in like 10 hours.
Oh, yeah.
In like 10 hours back in the day, you know, but it's...
Yeah.
But it's, I don't read like that anymore. I just can't do it, nor can I find the time to sit down and read like that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah,
those good old days of just being able to plop down and read for 5 or 6 hours at a shot just... rarely ever presents itself.
No, not the way with how fast life goes now. It's sad.
Even with writing, I tend to write. I'm very weird in my writing habits. For a long time, I tried to make myself write for an hour or two every day, and not that that's a bad structure to go to, but it just becomes very difficult when you're working a full-time job and you have other interests and other things to do. And so I kept on that, and then it got to the point where it's like, you know, I enjoy writing and I like putting stuff out, but it's not paying my bills and it ain't really making me a whole lot of money, so I can't keep putting that amount of time into it.
Right, yeah.
So now it's become more of a I do it when I feel like it type thing, and kind of, you know, peck away here and there. If something really strikes me and I'm really into doing it, then I'll work on it, you know, type thing.
Yeah, and that's how Howard Hashey works. He doesn't structure his time. He just writes when he wants to write, and it seems like he has better results that way because he actually cares about what he's writing about instead of, oh, I gotta sit down and do this for an hour.
Yeah. I've been very into writing short stories lately, more so than...
Those are fun, yeah.
More so than novels, because novels are such a huge time commitment to get them done, and especially, like I said, when you don't have any backing in order to...
Right.
When you have no backing as far as advertisement and promotion... It's a crapshoot when you put something out, whether anybody's going to buy it or not. Like, I have done well. It's been really weird because when I first started as an author, I generally sold more ebooks than physical copies.
Mm-hmm.
But in the last year and a half, my physical sales have been way better than my digital sales.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's like a nostalgia thing, because looking into it, because I have to analyze data and stuff like that on the publishing end, print books are coming back. People are more into print books right now than they are ebooks. So I don't know if it's like a nostalgia or what, but
some of it is that, and some of it is I find when I see people face to face and I can talk to people at different conventions and events and things like that.
yeah.
I sell a lot more books than just generically having my stuff up online and just promoting through means like Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Well, that stuff is wonderful unless you are constantly inundating people with ads and promotion, and they're constantly seeing your stuff. The result part of it just doesn't seem to be there. So unless you have a lot of money to throw behind it to be able to do that, then it's kind of hit or miss. It's honestly shit luck whether or not something takes off. Now, I have a few author friends that have done very well self-publishing through ebooks and stuff, #1 authors in their genres. But I think it was right place, right time sort of thing. And they are also in kind of these niche genres that are not necessarily, I don't think get flooded out as much as, like, say, horror does or romance or whatever. They're in some of these, some
more culty type genres.
Well, westerns. One of them's in the western genre, and they
gotcha.
So while that's a popular genre, I don't think you get the volume of stuff in those. So
yeah, it's not like everybody's out there trying to, I don't know, buy up all the westerns at Barnes and Noble.
And when you're a really good writer in that genre, people tend to latch on to you.
Yeah.
Because they're, I think it's, so say you're a horror author, not that I'm saying nobody should write horror, because that's my favorite genre.
No.
That's my favorite genre. But
yeah, that's one of mine too.
But the problem is there's like 1,000 horror novels coming out every day.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to wade through. So unless somebody recommends something to you or, something gets thrown your way, it's hard to wade through those sea of books. Or you've got to have an outstanding cover that really grabs somebody's attention. So there's more to it than just writing the book part. I look at book art a lot like I do album art. The way I used to discover a lot of bands, it wasn't because I heard the band. It was, holy crap, that album cover is awesome.
Yeah, that's why I listened to Cannibal Corpse. So at first, anyway, I was like, "Oh, look at that!
Look at that! Yeah, what is this?"
I lucked out. It was good.
That was me with Iron Maiden. I saw Iron Maiden's "No Prayer for the Dying" cassette, giving my age out here, on cassette back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and I was like, "Who the hell is this band? I've never heard this band before. This is awesome! I'm gonna go buy." I bought this, and they're like one of my favorite bands, now. But I discovered so many bands and so many authors even that way because they had a cool cover.
Yeah, they just had a kick-ass cover, and you wanted it.
And that's one thing, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this. This is one thing in the digital age that I think is kind of a lost, I guess, art, air quotes, art is artwork, cover artwork and stuff like that, because it's so easy for people just to make generic covers and slap them on and throw them.
Or they pay one of those companies to do it, and there's just like, it's so generic. It looks like every other cover.
Right. There's not,
like, it looks professional, but it's just meh.
There's not a lot of character to a lot of covers.
Yeah, we actually, our first book, it was a digital designer who did it, but I love the cover. I think it's hilarious. But the first book by Howard Hashey, we actually hired DJ Price.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know DJ? Yeah. Tattoo artist in Bangor.
Yep.
We had him do a painting for that one. He read the book. He did a painting for us. And Mark's, Dylan did. He did that digitally, but he tried to he actually read the book. I think one of the problems is if you hire somebody, they don't really read the book, they just read the synopsis.
Right, they're just getting that general idea.
Yeah, so there's no, like, real, I don't know, there's no real connection to it. And I think DJ's going to do our next book, Howard's second one. He's going to paint something for that. So the cover art is really something that we care about a lot.
Oh,
we like to get things that are a little different and actually hire artists.
Oh, absolutely. My favorite cover of all my books was handcrafted by my friend Chris Milo, which was my Legend of North Lake book. I had a specific idea of kind of what I wanted based upon some old movie poster ideas and the story itself. So I'm a sort of an artist. I don't consider myself a great artist, but I'm okay at it. I do a lot of my own cover work, just out of necessity, really. But
right.
So I was able to kind of convey to Chris what I wanted, and he drew and painted and did it all by hand, and that is the cover that I always get compliments on it, at shows and conventions.
Yeah, because people can tell. It's really that human element. Like, you can do a lot of beautiful things digitally, but it's not your hands physically manipulating anything. And I think the reason conventions do so well for authors is, again, that human element. You're there, you're talking, you're not behind a screen the whole time.
Oh, exactly. And that's one thing I tell a lot of people that I talk to is I love doing the conventions. I would love to do more if I was able to afford to, but they're expensive to do.
Yeah,
so
yeah, they are.
Especially when you start traveling outside of like a reasonable travel area where you can just kind of go and do it and come home. When you start factoring in hotels and food and your table cost and your overhead cost, and more often than not, you're lucky if you break even.
Yeah, we applied for one out in Phoenix. We're waiting to hear back. But luckily for me, I have a friend who lives somewhere around there, so so at least there's no hotel cost.
Right, and that's the thing. If you can find somebody to stay with, or somebody or maybe another author or two that you can split cost with, then that really helps out. But I don't think a lot of people realize, when artists and vendors and people are doing these comic conventions, that it costs them money to get the tables. Those tables aren't given out for free.
No, and some places charge commission too.
Yes, and I refuse to do any of those.
Yeah,
I
I'm not doing
refuse
that.
to do those. They can go to hell. If I'm paying for a table, that's enough. I wouldn't do commissions ever.
No. Because I know in Portland, a lot of them, you have to pay this fee and commission? No thanks.
No, yeah, I would have no desire to do any of those. That's not... The problem I see with that is then it becomes a thing where you have to charge so much money for your product.
Yeah.
Then it becomes one of those things where people either aren't going to buy it, or instead of buying 3 books, they're going to buy 1.
Yeah.
And you actually are going to end up making even less or nothing. Not that I make a lot.
Lose money, yeah.
I mean, most conventions, conventions and events I've done, I've really, truly, I think maybe once ever actually made money. I broke even, or been just slightly over. But as far as actually making enough money to cover my expenses and walk out and go, holy crap, I can go pay my light bill. That
right.
That's happened one time out of like 7 or 8 that I've done.
Yeah, and I don't know. It depends on who you go through. Usually not grassroots, but like the smaller ones. Usually those ones, they don't charge as much because they're in it for the same reasons a lot of the artists are.
Oh yeah. And you get like where we're from. There is a lot of like small hometown festival type things where you can get a table very cheap, and it's not a huge it's a one day. Usually a lot of those are like one day, so you go, you do them. It's 7 or 8 hours of your time. As long as you can sell 4 or 5 books or whatever, you've covered your expenses. So it's not a huge.
Yeah.
It's risk versus reward type thing, which you have to weigh out.
Yeah, and you have to figure out, well, what's a reward to me? Is it money, or is it just meeting people and getting out there? What are you in it for, really? Because for some people, they might lose money, but they still consider it a success if they've networked and things like that.
Networking is a huge thing, and I consider the risk will reward thing as if I'm gaining new fans and I'm meeting people, and I've started noticing I have people that I will see at one event, and they'll buy something, and they'll come back at the next event and go, I really like your book. I'd want to buy another one, type thing.
Right.
So it's that sort of like grassroots, like you said, it's a grassroots kind of growth thing. But at the same time, I also know what my financial situation is.
Right.
So I have to weigh out what I can and can't do and try to find a happy medium balance instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do every single Comic-Con or event that's coming up in the next 6 months. I was going to say, I have to look at it and say, okay, I'm going to do this one here, and I'm going to do this one here. And if I do these three, they're spread out far enough that, hopefully I won't run into all the same people and the distance and things. So there's so many factors, and I don't think a lot of people take into a lot of that stuff into consideration.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of people with their first conventions and things like that think that they're going to make all their money back, and that doesn't happen usually. It could, but...
I know my first few I didn't do, I paid for my table, and that was about the extent of it.
Yeah.
So, but they were good learning experiences, and I had a blast. If nothing else, not just for meeting people that bought my books and stuff, but to connect with artists and other vendors and publishers and movie producers and all these things.
Exactly.
It was good to network with that. That's how I met, as I've mentioned on the show before, that was how I met Shane Grant, who's, who has the rights to my film Chum and is turning that into a story.
Oh, that's why that name sounded familiar. It's like, oh.
Yeah, so that was how I met Shane, was at at these different comic conventions and stuff, and I gave him a copy of one of my short story collections to check out, and he loved the story and wanted to option it. So, that's...
Oh, nice.
But stuff like that, that's how you kind of branch out, and a lot of people don't want to do the groundwork part of it. Because they're long days, and they're fun, but they are long days, especially the ones that are 2 or 3 days, worth of time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I mean, the networking thing too, for like a small publisher like us, it helps because we do everything on our own right now. Like all of our book trailers and things like that. We do all those things ourselves. So, I mean, if we can network and get people on board with us, that saves us time and it can help us to grow as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I love doing those things because, I mean, I'm a film snob, like I said, so I love making trailers, but I'm also working full time, so.
It's a balancing act. It really is. And like I said, you get to the point where, I know for like me, like I said, I got to the point here in the last year or so where I had to really step back after I finished my book Normal, and I had to kind of step back and be like, okay, I enjoy writing, I like doing this stuff, and I like putting stuff out, but the amount of time I have been putting into everything, it's I have been neglecting doing other things I enjoy, because, so it's like I don't want to keep doing that stuff. But at the same time, I'm not going to stop writing either. But I need to find a more happy medium balance and something that works for me, where it's not such a stringent regimen of.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel like it's like an obligation, I guess. And for me, like, I suffer from insomnia. I don't sleep very much, so this gives me something to do instead of laying in bed thinking about how much I hate that I can't sleep. And getting scared because I'm scared of the dark. So this gives me something to do during that time. Right. So it kind of works out for me. But.
Right. And everybody, you hear that a lot from writers and creative people about having insomnia. I suffer. I have insomnia as well. it's not an all the time thing with me. It kind of comes and goes where I go through a little stretch, three or 4 days, or a day here and a day there, but my brain, I always like to say my brain doesn't ever shut off. I'm always thinking about stuff. Like I'll lay down and I'll start thinking about 1,900 different things, and
oh God, yeah.
I could do this with this story here, and what about this, and why is this going on over here? This doesn't make any sense. That's why I put out my Confessions of a Boring White Guy. Part of the
I remember that.
That was part of the reason for doing that. Was just so I could get like these random thoughts out of my head, and and that was a fun way to kind of do that. I may do another one again in the future, but because I did enjoy doing it. Because I, for a long time, was very unsure whether or not I was even going to put that, release that. So.
Oh, was it just something you wrote, but you just weren't sure you were going to publish, or did you not even write it yet at that point?
Well, I had written it. I was writing it kind of just for my own sake.
Gotcha.
And there's some personal stuff in there, so it was kind of like I wasn't really sure if I wanted to put that out for everybody to see type thing, or was it going to be anything that anybody else would find poignant or even enjoy reading type thing, because it's not really like a traditionally structured thing. It's just some of it's kind of journal style, some of it's like poetry and song lyrics, some of it's like little weird, almost short stories of things I was thinking of while making observations, and it's kind of different, so it's not really like a poetry book, but it's not really a journal. It's also, it's a kind of a combination of a bunch of different things.
Yeah. And I mean, with that personal aspect, if you think about it, though, every book, nonfiction, fiction, whatever it is, really, it sort of is autobiographical in a way, because the author does bleed through into it, even if it is fiction.
Oh, yeah, and I think with almost any story that I have ever written, there's a little bit of me in those stories, because most people that are creative, whether it be music, art, writing, anything, you take the experiences you've had in life and you put that into your art. So, there may be little things in some of those books are things that I experienced, or close to things I experienced, or ideas I had, or people I knew, or whatever, so it kind of, and that's what turns into books, really, in my honest opinion.
And the more believable, enjoyable books do come from that anyway. You can tell when somebody is writing about something they don't know a goddamn thing about.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just so contrived, especially with things like, I'll go back to romance. With romance, you can tell when they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just writing a book, but it shows through, I think, and it feels kind of phony if you write from things that you, don't know a whole lot about.
Oh, and I think, I always hate to go back to Stephen King, but he's my favorite.
That's okay. I love
he's
Stephen
my
King.
Favorite author. So,
he's one of my favorites.
So, when I go back to Stephen King, I think that's what makes so many of his books work, is he has that, like, uncanny ability to draw from different experiences and things that he heard about or saw or whatever, and make them into something that's, because his stories, I think, on some level, one way or the other, are relatable to a lot of people, and I think that's why they're so successful.
Yeah, I mean, his stories, especially the classic ones for him, the classic King stories, they're just refreshingly candid. And I mean, some people are turned off by that because it was too much for me. Well, that's how real life is. There's shitty people in real life.
Exactly.
People talk this way. The world is ugly sometimes. And I just think for some people, reading about that, not having this element of fantasy too much into something. I don't mean fantasy like the genre. I mean just unrealistic.
Fantastical elements.
Yes. Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's some fantasy stories that are more realistic than something that's supposedly realistic fiction.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more there. So this, I guess, is, and I guess bringing up that point there, like a lot of people, you kind of heard that a little bit with the release of It this past year, the movie coming out, and there was a few things in that which come pretty much directly out of the book from what I remember. It's been a while since I've read the book. But there were some things in that, I mean, they're kind of hard to watch because they're truthful. But
it's too real.
It's very realistic. Not so much, the killer clown that lives in the sewer, the shape-shifting beast that can take on any form. But some of the things that the kids experience is things that most everybody has experienced.
One way or another, directly or indirectly. But I mean,
maybe not on the same level, but they.
Right. When I read that book, and even when I watched the film when it came out, I didn't really see it as a clown. I saw it just as all the ugliness in the world taking shape. So I mean, on the surface it's a clown, but to me it is really about humanity and how ugly it can be, and how, I mean, to get over that, we have to shed some light upon it, shed light in the darkness.
Absolutely. My whole take was, my whole take on it is, it's a metaphor for fear in everybody's personal, everybody's personal fears, things that terrify us, things that we are afraid of whether we want to admit them or not. That's what Pennywise is, is that whole, whether it's you're afraid of being bullied, the bullies, that's what you're afraid of with Ben, type, the bullies, and or Bev and her father, that was one of the most uncomfortable scenes in any movie I have ever watched. But I heard a lot of. That was very uncomfortable to watch that one, but so that sort of thing, and that's what I think why he resonates with so many people is he has that rare ability that so few people have to be able to make people be able to connect with that stuff.
Yeah, and in a way that's still artistic in a way, you know what I mean? I'm sure the way I interpret his books could be different than the way that he intended for them to be interpreted, but that's what makes them literature rather than just contemporary fiction, I think.
Absolutely. I think everybody that reads his work can take something different out of them based on,
Yeah, I mean, look at Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining and compare that to King's opinion of his own book. I mean, he was pissed off when he saw that movie. He hates that version of it. That's why. Yeah, he hates that movie.
And I love the book, but I also love that movie. That's.
Yeah, you just gotta take them as different things.
Exactly. And that's something else. And this is, I'd be curious to hear your take on this too, is, one thing you often hear from people that are book snobs especially is, well, the movie's not anything like the book. I hate it. It's stupid.
Oh, my God.
They're two completely different...
They're two different entities,
two completely different mediums. When Shane sent me the screenplay for Chum, he wanted me to, give my blessing to it, make sure I was okay with what he had to do. Chum is such a narrative story that it would be very difficult to make an interesting movie out of it the way that it is. So he had to add some things to it, so it makes it,
Yeah, I mean...
Nobody wants to watch a 15-minute story with no, talking and no interactions with other people, and...
You have to think about the medium, like film versus book. I mean, you can't... Some things just don't translate. Like with It, there's certain things in that novel that they couldn't do in the film, and some people are upset about it, but I mean, come on. Could they really have done that?
And have the same effect. Same effect, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people get that. You know, they think it's going to be the exact same thing. But I look at it this way also. I don't want to see the book verbatim as a movie. I want something.
Yeah, why don't I just read the frickin' book?
Right, exactly. I want something a little, I'd like to at least stick to the premise and be somewhat close.
Yeah.
But, take a few little liberties to make it whatever. As long as it's good, I don't care. But a lot of people...
Yeah. It's when it's not good or it completely doesn't do the premise of the book justice, like the Dark Tower film, for example, then I can see getting upset about it. But
see, and that's the one thing I find this funny too, and I've only read the first Dark Tower book. I've never read the rest of.
Oh, really?
I've never read the rest of the series. I enjoyed the Dark Tower movie for what it was. I didn't think it was. Now, see, I can tell you've read the Dark Tower books because everybody that I know that's a huge fan of that series hates that movie.
Even if I try to look at the film as just a film on its own, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I hated it.
And that's it.
And I put the book aside. I was like, this is something on its own. I just didn't think it worked.
See, and I enjoyed it as a stupid, fun kind of sci-fi action film. And that's because I don't know anything about it other than that first book. You know what I mean? So I don't really know the world. And it's kind of funny because most of my friends that saw it that weren't have never read the series or just aren't readers, they kind of enjoyed it. But it was everybody that I know that was a fan of the series like, oh man, I hated this, it sucks. So it was kind of interesting to see the contrast between the two separate groups of people.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe I'm just too much of a film snob, but I did try to look at it as something on its own. I didn't think it was a good movie.
I consider myself a film snob, but at the same time, I view different genres in different types of movies in like tiers, like if that makes any sense, I don't put Jaws on the same level that I would put Friday the 13th. So if I'm gonna rate, I may rate Friday the 13th an 8 out of a 10, and Jaws a 10 out of 10, and people like, how the hell would is Friday the 13th even close to Jaws? It's a completely different type of film. For that type of film, it's awesome. So it's really weird, and I think everybody has their own systems on how they rate movies and what they. I like what I like, and everybody else likes what they like.
Yeah.
That's how I always say to somebody, it's like, if you like the movies that I recommend and you kind of agree with me, cool. Then if I recommend something and we're pretty similar in taste, then check it out. If I recommend something that our tastes aren't the same, do the exact opposite.
Yeah. And I mean, with anything like that, it's really subjective. I mean, there's no good or bad, really, because if, like, with 50 Shades of Grey, people love that. If you look at it from a literature or editor's point of view, like, it's not really good the way it's written, but if people like it, then, well, it must be good in a way, right?
It struck a chord.
It's all subjective. It depends on who you are.
Right, it struck a chord with somebody somewhere, so obviously it's made a lot of money.
Yeah.
It spawned a film franchise, so,
Oh, God, the films.
I've never read any of them, never watched any of them. Have absolutely no desire to whatsoever.
You're not missing anything. Curiosity struck me, so I listened to the audiobook for the first one. Oh my God.
I mean, let's be...
And I watched the second film out of curiosity because I was homesick with the flu not too long ago, and it was on Prime. I was like, well, what the hell? I'm not doing anything.
One of my friends described it as mommy porn.
It really is, but it just confuses me then even more so about what women want. Because you look at some of the subject matter. Yeah.
As a male, that's the lifelong conundrum for most of us, because none of us understand.
But I am a woman, and I don't understand.
I'm a man, and most men don't understand what women want, period. I mean, come on, let's be realistic. None of us know. I was talking to one of my friends one time, I said, and I'm not shitting on females or anything, but just
No, that's fine.
I said, understanding what a woman really wants is like finding a unicorn. I was like, if you,
Oh, it's true.
it's impossible. It's like it's somewhere out there. It could be out there, but kudos to anybody that's been able to do it. I haven't figured it out yet, so.
I don't even think women know what they want sometimes, to be honest.
And I think that's the big difference between men and women. I think men are used to being a little more, like, straightforward.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I am, so maybe that's why I don't have a whole lot of female friendships, I guess. I just don't get it.
Which is really funny, because most of the females that I'm friends with are also like that. They're very straightforward, don't usually have a lot of female friends. They would rather hang out with guys than...
Yeah, well, I always say the wrong thing, and I don't think I'm being mean, but apparently I am, and okay.
So, where can people check out Fluky Fiction?
Oh, we have a domain. Ooh, we're professional. www.flukyfiction.com. All of our books are up there, but I mean, you can really look us up on Amazon and find ebooks if that's your thing. I'm not into ebooks, but our print editions are on Amazon too. But I kind of prefer people to go through the website, because then I can write little letters to the people who buy books, and it's just more intimate that way.
Excellent.
And sometimes, to be honest, Amazon's printer they can print something a little off, and I'm a perfectionist, so even if it's a tiny bit off, and maybe a customer wouldn't notice, I would notice.
Had that happen before.
Yeah, see, you know.
Yeah, my cover wasn't centered for some weird reason on one of my... Everything was, like, slightly too far over for some reason.
Yeah, that happened to a box of ours before. And, I mean, they were cool about it when I called them up.
Luckily, I had only ordered, like, 10 copies of that book at that time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a huge issue, but it just bugged the hell out of me.
Yeah, and I would hate for somebody to order from Amazon and get something like that and think that it was us who did it. You know what I mean?
And I told everybody, because this was for a convention, and I told everybody, I said, hey, it was a printing error. There's nothing wrong with the format of the book on the inside, but the cover's not lined up right for some weird reason.
Yeah.
So if it looks off, it looks kind of funny, I said, think of it this way, you have a limited edition book, because...
There we go. Yeah, we're giving away some of our books that were like that and some of our first prints pretty soon. So if people see something that they like, they should just check back every once in a while, because there's going to be some free ones soon.
Now, do you have any? Are you on any social media sites?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, and I am also on Twitter too.
Okay, excellent.
Because it's really my husband and I who control we're at the top of it. I do have editor friends and people like that who help us with the editing process. But because some of the subject matter, a romance about a guy with two penises, some people don't want their names on that, and, but people expect that from me at this point, so.
I'm a big fan of the Instagram. That's my jam.
Yeah, I use that too, just not as much. I don't know why, but
honestly, for me, that seems to get the best results as far as bang for my buck, as far as
because it's all visual.
Exactly. I don't post as much on there, but when I do post stuff, it seems like more people pay attention to it. And I know, for instance, with the podcast, my listenership doubled when I started using Instagram.
Yeah, and like you said, I do one little thing on there, and it seems like it gets a lot of hits. I don't use it as much as I should.
And I'm curious.
That's just me being lazy, I guess.
I'm curious to see. Now, I don't know if you are aware of the big. I don't want to say controversy, but the big announcement from Facebook that they're going to start showing less ads and stuff like that. Basically, because for those of you who don't know, Facebook has changed the way their algorithms and stuff were originally when everybody was first on it. I used to see everything my friends posted, and then it was well, unless you've interacted with this person in the last month, you may not see any of their posts. So, because Facebook went more in the way of putting ads and stuff like that, and this was also a big thing that pissed me off, was
excuse me.
I had bands and authors and movie people and stuff I followed that I wanted to genuinely keep up with, and I never saw any of their posts.
Yeah.
Because that was a Facebook thing, because they are trying to get people to pay a bunch of money to run ads, and instead of that's something you're interested in, so just because as an author I post a page and I have 400 people following me, maybe 10 people would see it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they're trying to go back more to the original way that it was. So say you follow a band or you follow somebody or you're friends with somebody, you'll see more of their posts than these random posts that have nothing to do with anything that you're checking out type stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because the ads that show up, I kind of wonder, what did I Google that is making Facebook give me this ad?
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, really, they buy things from Google.
Oh, yes.
They're in it together, so you Google
Amazon.
something, it goes to your
Anything
Facebook
you
page.
look, anything
Amazon,
you look on Amazon, that's why if you search for horror movies, say, I'm looking for the Critters movies, and the next thing you know, the next time you go on Facebook, there's an ad for Critters, anything with the Critters stuff, or movies like Critters, or, that's why all this stuff...
Yeah, and they look at your interests and things like that, too.
Absolutely. So, we're already over an hour, holy crap.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about film because, big part of Average Joe's Drive-In, his movie. So we were trying to figure out what to talk about ahead of time. So just tell me about some movies that you saw in 2017 that you think people ought to check out.
Movies I saw in 2017. Oh, it's already 2018. Oh my God. Okay, so what did I see last year? Did Get Out come out last year?
Yes.
It did? Okay, so I saw that, and that was one of the movies that I remember really well and thinking, wow, this is a really good film.
And I still haven't seen it yet. That is like on my... I am so bad about keeping up with...
I think you would like that.
I am so horribly bad at keeping up with like movies as they're released just because I don't have the time. I'm generally one of these people that I don't usually see movies till they've been out for like a year a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Unless it's...
Yeah, we're like that
Unless
too.
it's something really special like Star Wars or, that I will go see in the theater, but I'm just getting around to checking out a lot of the movies I wanted to watch in 2017. And that is on that list because I've heard nothing but good things about it. So.
Oh, it was great because it could be watched just as a film, or it could be watched more like allegorical or metaphorical.
Yeah,
so that was a good one. I think the only other two movies I saw in the theaters last year were It and what the hell was that movie called? It was a kids' film. My daughter wanted to see it. Despicable Me. It had Trey Parker in it.
Yeah. I actually have seen the first two, but I haven't.
I've only seen the third one, and I said okay because it had Trey Parker in it.
Yeah, South Park. I love.
Yeah, and she knew too. She's like,
and I love his movies. I love Orgasmo and Basketball. And,
oh my God,
all those. So those are fun movies and.
Basketball. It's okay. You can tell which jokes they wrote, but they didn't really write the movie. I just like seeing them in something.
Orgasmo kills me. And they all.
Have you seen
Cannibal? The musical was wonderful.
Oh my God!
Every time the Let's Build the Snowman skit just makes me die laughing. So if you guys, anybody out there that's listening to the show, if you have never seen Cannibal the musical, it's a movie that
you're not living life.
It is a movie that Trey Parker and Matt Stone did when they were in college, and it is hilarious. It's very actually well done for a movie that was made by a bunch of college kids, basically on weekends. I mean, there are some like grand musical numbers in there, and it is so goofy and stupid. And if you like South Park and Basketball and any of those movies that they have put out, Team America, any of those movies they've put out, you need to track down Cannibal the musical.
I think it's on Netflix right now, actually.
I haven't seen it. I used to own it on DVD at one.
Oh, I have.
It was one.
I have the soundtrack.
Oh, really? Now that is a dedicated fan. You have the soundtrack on vinyl?
Oh, not on vinyl, hub. I have it on CD.
I was going to say, now how hardcore of a Cannibal the Musical? I've got the limited edition, two-sided glow-in-the-dark vinyl of Cannibal the Musical soundtrack.
Yes.
So...
No record player, but I have the vinyl.
I actually have a record player somewhere. I actually inherited a bunch of vinyl last year, and but I have to dig the record player out, and I have no clue if I have speakers that work for it. So, But so I mean, it doesn't even have to be anything in the theater. But I mean, if you saw anything at home that you really thought was awesome and people ought to check out. Doesn't have to be released from last year. I mean, it could be anything. But I know you mentioned you were a big John Carpenter fan.
Oh, yeah, John Carpenter. So, one of the movies I got to see as a kid, actually, that, probably has a lot to do with how I am now emotionally about the dark. I saw The Thing as a kid.
Great movie.
And, I mean, even watching it now, it still looks so real. And have you seen the newer The Thing?
Everyone's told me it's not very good.
It actually is, I think. It's not a remake.
Well, it's not like a remake. Prequel,
it's like
isn't it, or something?
Yeah, it's an extension of the story, and they actually blend in some of those actual special effects with the CG, so it doesn't look so tacky. I thought it was well done.
Yeah, I just have never gotten around to it. There's like certain films with me that are like sacred, and you just don't remake them, and that's kind of one of those.
And that was that's what I was worried about when I saw it, because like, oh great, it's just going to be a bunch of CGI crap, the same movie, but it wasn't, and I thought it was good.
Because Jaws is that movie for me too. Like, Jaws is my favorite movie ever, and it's like,
that's a great one.
Like, nobody ever needs to touch this film in any way, because you're not going to make it better at all. It's not possible, because it's to me, that's like a perfect movie between story and action and jumpy and, memorable lines, and it's just one of those films.
Yeah, I heard some people say, who were, able to actually see it in the theater when it came out, that they threw up watching that movie because they had never seen anything like that.
I was so pissed last summer, the summer before last, they had the 40th anniversary screening at the Bangor Drive-In, and I didn't get to go see it, and I was so upset that
that sucks.
I wanted to go see that so bad, and I can't remember what happened either. I ended up being sick the week that it happened, or the person I was supposed to go with ended up being sick, and then the other day we had a chance to go, it poured. So I ended up not getting to see that, but that is one, even though I've seen it probably 150 times,
what's 151?
I can repeat most of it verbatim.
That's how I am with Team America.
I was like, I really need to watch that on the big screen, because that would just be amazing.
Yeah, it's nice that they got the drive-in back.
Yeah,
I haven't been able to go yet, but it's just nice to have that as an option.
Every year I keep saying I'm going to go, and I'm going to go, and then
I know, we do too.
But I'm old, and I go to bed at 9 o'clock, and it doesn't even get dark till 9, and so I need to go like in the fall or the spring when it's darker early.
Exactly.
So, now this is one more movie-related question before we go. If there was any movie that could be remade that you would like to see a rebooted, remade version of, what would it be? Put me on the spot.
A rebooted version of something.
It doesn't have to be a good movie either. It could be something that had potential but didn't quite hit it,
Yeah, let me think for a sec. So something that had potential didn't quite... Because, I mean, I would have said a year or two ago It, but I felt like they did that justice,
Right.
Trying to think of something else that wasn't quite what... I guess the Tommy Knockers. Have you seen that miniseries? Yeah, I think they could have another go at that.
Yeah.
I have one where the sound's not right, so their lips are... It looks like a Japanese movie, because their lips are moving.
Everything is not in sync, Yeah, that's always a weird question to ask people, because people usually kind of throws it for a loop, because most people don't want to see anything get remade, or they're very,
Yeah.
That's always kind of a fun one to now see. The movie that I would like to see a remake of is actually a Stephen King movie. But it was directed by George Romero. But it was when Orion Pictures was kind of going under. And that was The Dark Half. The movie...
Oh, I haven't even seen the movie. Like, I love the book.
The movie is actually pretty good for what it is. But you can tell that they had a lot of budget constraints and were kind of...
I was going to say, with Romero, it should have been at least okay.
And you could tell they were, having a little budget issues and some things going on. So it's okay, but it's not great. But that's one of my favorite King books. That's in my top 5 King books.
Yeah, that's the first Stephen King book I had my husband read. He used to hate reading, but he read that and he was like, holy shit. And then he started reading.
Yeah, that's what, like I've said many times, King is what got me into horror, as far as reading horror. And it was a combination of Night of the Living Dead, Stephen King, and the Misfits. Those 3 things was a perfect, storm, as I've said many times on the show. Probably too much and everyone's sick of me saying it, but, it's, that was part of it. But yeah, The Dark Half, I'm so weird about films being remade, because some of them it's like, I don't mind that's getting remade. It can use a little update or whatever. And then there's other ones it's like, you better not remake that. You suck.
Yeah, just don't touch it.
Leave it alone.
I felt like that about Total Recall, but they went
now,
ahead and
see,
did
The
it.
Running Man is another movie that I would love to see.
Oh,
I
my
just
God.
watched the original the other day, and it's so cheesy, but
it's fun to watch, but it's not a good movie.
No, it's so much fun, and it's so cheesy.
It is fun.
And it's so cheesy, but watching it now it's been quite a while since I've watched it, but watching it now, there is a lot of, underlying themes in that are very relevant to today's time.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much any dystopian thing, really.
That was based on a Richard Bachman book, which is Stephen King. So
yeah, I have his Bachman book. It's fallen apart, but
so I think that would be another one that might be be poignant to do it now.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting
because
one to do.
The first one is great for what it is, and it is so cheesy, so cheesy. I mean, I couldn't help but bust out laughing at some of the cheesy one-liners.
All the Arnold one-liners and the laughing just
looks like he lost his head. Come on, what's that? He's doing this whole Arnold being Arnold being Arnold.
Yeah, and he just makes the noises sometimes, just
Oh yeah, exactly, and the cheesy one-liners. But it's so much. It's such a fun movie. I forgot how much I liked it. I broke out my old VHS copy and watched it the other day. So, but yeah. So anyway, we got to wrap things up because this is what happens. You get gabbing, and all of a sudden it's an hour and 15 minutes into things. But before we go, I'd like to thank my sponsors, the Maine Cannababes. You can check them out, maincannababes.com. There's all kinds of cool stuff coming up this year. If you are interested in being a model or donating or volunteering for any of the different projects they have going on, go to maincannababes.com. They have some information up there on how you can become involved with the Cannababes. This goes for guys and girls, just as long as you're not a creepy douche. That's one of the big requirements of being involved with that. They do some awesome things and do a lot of raise money for a lot of good charitable causes and awareness and volunteer a lot for stuff, and they're awesome. Again, maincannababes.com. I still haven't made my new ad, and I'm sorry. I will have the new Maine Cannababes sponsor spot up here sooner than later. Because, the old one isn't really relevant to now because it's talking about stuff going on in 2017. So it kind of needs to be redone for the new year. You can check out Average Joe's Drive-In online at Average Joe's Drive-In Podcast on Facebook. Thomas Washburn Jr. on Instagram. TWJ Author on Twitter, even though I'm never on Twitter because I hate Twitter with a burning fire of a, I just, way too much politics and bullshit on there. And I try to avoid that stuff like the plague. ThomasWashburnJr.com, which you can find everything that I just talked about if you go to that. Also, if you want to support the show, help me out, and you get something out of it, you can pick up one of my books in either Kindle format or paperback through Amazon at author.ThomasWashburnJr. Amazon.com/author/ThomasWashburnJr. Or just go to ThomasWashburnJr.com. And there's links to everything up there. I'd like to thank Cara Flannery for being on the show. Thank you very much. I had a good time chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is there anything else you want to plug before we kind of wrap it up?
Well, if you hate romance or love romance, we have that anthology coming out next month, February 13th, so right before Valentine's Day. And we have a pre-sale going on right now, so you can get it at a discounted price. And that information's on flukyfiction.com, or you can check out Amazon if you like Kindle. The Kindle version's up there already. And also go watch Cannibal the Musical if you haven't.
And you're going to want to build it.
That's the most important thing.
And you are definitely going to want to build the snowman after you watch that.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Average Joe's Drive-In. I am your host, TJ Washburn, and I will see you sexy animals on the flip side.
It's intermission. Rise and stretch time. Time to refresh yourself and visit our snack bar. Got a yen for hot popcorn? Your favorite soft drinks are sparkling cold. The juicy Frank sizzling hot. There's delicious coffee, freshly brewed, and all kinds of ice cream and candy to tempt you. Showtime will be announced loud and clear to get you back to your car in time. So stretch your legs. Come to the snack bar now.